Hi, my fellow Sagittarians. This is Raina. Welcome to your July 2015 Tarotscope. So this month I'm using the same spread that I did last month, and I'm combining the astrological transits of July to give a broader perspective. And the first card that I drew to represent the influence from June for us is the Devil card in reverse. And I was thinking about the cards that people tend to kind of revile when it comes to the tarot. And I think that the Death card and the Devil card are two prime examples because they both seem rather ominous, to be honest. But with the Devil card, in the upright position, it actually has a more negative connotation because the Devil represents obsession and addiction. Everyone, associates addiction with substance abuse, but there's also the love of money that kind of crosses into an obsession and a love relationship that is more addictive than, just than actual love. And so with the Devil card in reverse, Sagittarians are going to be experiencing freedom from some sort of bondage. And it could be as simple as negative thinking patterns. So that is a wonderful card for us to get because Sagittarians are known as the positive thinkers of the zodiac. But everyone at times can suffer from doubt, especially if something specific happens that bursts your balloon or lets you down, and you begin to realize that some people and some situations can't be counted on. And ultimately it's a good thing because when you can become stable enough that nothing ever discourages you, ultimately those are the people that end up being consistently successful, because they don't depend on the outside world to dictate what they do. In other words, a lot of people try something, and if they have any kind of initial difficulties, they just give up so quickly. And other people persist because they have inner faith, inner confidence, and they don't rely on outer events to tell them, that something is viable. And, a perfect example is somebody who is a writer who gets all these rejection slips and they still continue, they still persevere. Now, other people would get discouraged from that and just say, I'm no good. So actually, that influence from June is a good omen for us. For the first half of July, I got for us the Eight of Pentacles, and that card is a labor of love, something that you're working on. It could be a hobby that you're turning into a business. This is what is indicated for the first 2 weeks in July. And you may be at a different stage than another Sagittarian. Maybe it's just an idea that comes to you during that time, and you start the and you just start researching. Maybe some other people are hard at work, but it's mainly people that have already started, because it shows somebody who is rolling up their sleeves and really doing it. And there's a sense of purpose. I think there's a lot of this going on today where people are realizing that they have to live their dreams and they can't just put them off for another day. And so, Sagittarius, I hope that you are one of those people, because in the first half of the month, it would be a great time to start doing something that you really have always wanted to do, but have kind of thought, oh, that's just a hobby. I love painting, but that's just a hobby. I love making jewelry, that's just a hobby. And you can still do a day job if that's what you want to do, to make ends meet for the time being, but just start this other thing too. So let me go into some of the transits for July, Sagittarius. On the very first day of the month, we have a full moon in Capricorn at 9 degrees, 9:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. This full moon falls in our second house. Again, I should mention that these are general readings. You can contact me for a personalized reading based on your exact time of birth. So, what does this mean when the full moon falls in the second house? Well, the second house is the house of money that you earn. So, this could mean a whole bunch of things. Some people might be ending jobs, but some people might be flowering in their job. They might have some kind of a salary raise. They may have some ideas at the time of the full moon for making even more money, because this has a lot of nice visualization energy accompanying it. We have Venus trining Jupiter, and we have Sun trining Neptune, and Moon sextiling Neptune. Those are all great energies for thinking about things that you want and attracting them to you. And in the sector of money that you earn, this could give you a new fertile time for creating side jobs, which is connected to that Eight of Pentacles. It doesn't have to be your main job right now, but it could be a side job. And you might have some ingenious ideas for what to do. And then halfway through the month, on the 15th, we have a new moon in Cancer at 23 degrees. And this is at 8:24 Central Standard Time. And Cancer is our 8th house. Another money situation, this time other people's money. It could point to a spouse having a new job. It could point to new sources of passive income. Maybe it's some kind of investment that suddenly has gone through the roof. Or maybe it's an inheritance. That could be. The 8th house is the house of death, taxes, inheritances, that sort of thing. So with a new moon there might be some developments in that area. So those are both money manifestation energies, which I like to hear. And then we have some other transits occurring with other planets. We have Venus going into Virgo on the 19th, and Virgo is our 10th house, which is the house of career. So being viewed as attractive in the work sector is a wonderful energy if you're looking for a job. Now, Venus will be going retrograde on the 25th of the month, and just a heads up, when Venus goes retrograde, you can expect to hear from people in your past. And that's always kind of a fun, interesting time. But for the rest of the month, it will stay at 0 degrees Virgo. Even, it's in retrograde motion, but it will be staying in that sign throughout July. Mars remains in Cancer throughout the month, 8th house issues. Make sure if there is some issue regarding an inheritance that you do not get too aggressive about it, or, your spouse's income. Don't fight over money. Never a good idea. In any case, it's not worth it. Pardon the pun. You could be, putting more energy into the investments that you have. Or it just might be something to do with the occult. You might be getting more and more energized about research and that sort of thing. Saturn is at 28 degrees Scorpio in retrograde, and this is the 12th house. So to have this restrictive energy in that sector is a little bit challenging, although it's not necessarily bad for it to be in the sign of Scorpio, because Scorpio loves digging beneath the surface and purifying whatever it is that needs to be regenerated. And, you know, the past life aspect of the 12th house is very interesting. I have Saturn in Pisces, so I think that there's almost like a kind of similar energy with that, where you're just really, you know, you have to be careful not to get triggered into kind of unconscious fears, unconscious limitations that, you know, might stem from, you know, the 1400s or something. Nothing to do with today, but it's just like, you know, you feel these psychic hits or something. But in any case, it's actually reviewing, and there is a little bit of a letting up energy, I think, when it's in retrograde motion, because, you know, with these planets that are more intense. So it could go either way, but, you know, don't worry about it. It's just something to be aware of. And what else do we got going on here? Uranus is in retrograde on the 26th of the month, and this is in Aries, of course. It's been in Aries for several years. Aries is our 5th house. So Uranus has been in this house for several years, in the house of creativity, children, hobbies, that sort of thing. I think it just really adds more of a wild card energy to 5th house matters like love, children, and art. And, you know, if you are looking for love with the Venus in retrograde and Uranus going back in the 5th, you might have this once-in-a-lifetime thing, or it might be a past life thing, or just this unusual kind of love affair. Sagittarians like things that are unusual. They're not interested in just the mundane or the cliched or whatever. You know, so this is going to be, you know, Aries is a very compatible sign with us. It's a fellow fire sign, so it forms a trine to us. So this is a friendly energy, even though it's in retrograde and even though it's in Uranus. For those who are looking for love, or those who are trying to create or are presenting their creations. Because remember, we still have Leo in the 9th house during July, and, you know, that's for publishing and stuff like that. So writers, you never know, this could be it. I'm saying that because I'm a writer. Okay, and the card I picked for the second half of July is the Six of Swords. And this is somebody in the weight deck that is in a boat, and he's rowing away from trouble. It's a great card because it means going someplace where it's more peaceful. It could be some kind of journey. It could be that you've changed your attitude. You're going to a more constructive environment. If you have had some sort of chronic problem, the worst is behind you. It can indicate travel. You might move to a different location. If you have stress, it could be relieved at this time. I love that. The card I picked for the overall influence of July, Sagittarians, is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is the high priest. You know, you have the high priestess and you have the high priest. And interestingly, it's also associated with Jupiter. But I have seen, which is our ruler, but I have seen, when I looked up what card it's connected to, that it's connected to Taurus. So I don't know what to believe. I would think it would relate more to Sagittarius in a sense, because it's the number 5 card, and we have the Temperance card as connected to us. So that is a 14 card, and 1 plus 4 equals 5. The Tarot uses numerology, so it's associated with, you know, priests and teachers, and that's Sagittarius. So take it for what it's worth. I really believe that it might be related to the ninth house. Theology, universities, it could be that you attend some sort of ceremony, maybe a college graduation, maybe you get married, maybe you go to an important marriage of somebody close to you. You're a child, maybe you're going to be teaching in some capacity during July. I mean, it's typically a time of vacation, but some people might be working. It's a card that indicates that Sagittarians may be really looking at their spiritual side during the month of July for some reason. And I think that that's not unusual for Sagittarians. I think that we are oriented that way. But for some reason, we are focusing on this during the month of July. And, it could even, if you're not somebody who's into organized religion, it could indicate gurus or something of that sort. What I like about the cards that I drew is that they seem to kind of touch all the bases. You have the Eight of Pentacles, deals with the financial side of life. Pentacles always do. And then you have the Six of Swords. Swords usually represents some kind of conflict, but in this instance, the person is getting away from conflict. So it's an emotional relief. And then the Devil card in reverse indicates a change in one's negative thinking habits into a positive frame of mind. So it might be that we do have a noticeable shift in July because, 2 out of 4 major arcana cards, that's something to really take into consideration. That indicates change on the macro level. Of course, again, this is just a general reading, and it's a very brief reading, but I like it. And then Sagittarius, on the last day of July, we have a blue moon, which is the second full moon in a month. Now, obviously, that saying once in a blue moon indicates that it's not something that happens every day. So I think this is a significant event. And this occurs in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is our 3rd house. And the 3rd house is the house of communication. It's ruled by Mercury in the sign of Gemini. It forms a sextile to our sun, so it's a friendly angle. And this is really good for writing projects, hearing about your writing, other forms of communication. With that Venus in retrograde, you might hear from an old flame online. Someone hits you up on Facebook. But just keep that date in mind if you're looking for someone from back in the day, because you never know, Sagittarius. So I hope you enjoyed your reading, and I will be back in a few weeks, and we'll take on August. Take care, you guys. Bye.